Evan Mercer grew up believing that calm was a kind of strength. His parents lived in a world of quiet routines, soft conversations over morning coffee, shared smiles over worn paperbacks, long walks through Harbor Crest's empty streets at dusk. Their home was steady, predictable, safe. Evan didn't realize how rare that stability was until he stepped into adulthood and found himself drawn to people who lived in a completely different tempo. He met Lena Hartwell on a windy autumn day near the pier. She sat cross-legged on the boardwalk, sketching the ocean with frantic charcoal strokes as if she was racing the tide. Her hair flew around her face, her jacket sleeves smeared with paint. When Evan stopped to help her retrieve a paper that the wind carried away, she launched into conversation without hesitation, talking about colors, creativity, fear, dreams, and a past filled with unpredictable moments. Evan, who usually measured his words, found himself listening more than speaking, pulled into her current like driftwood caught in a tide. Within weeks, they were inseparable. Lena led him through a world where everything was intense and urgent. She woke him at midnight to drive to hidden cliffs, dragged him into messy painting sessions, filled his silence with imaginative stories. Evan adored her passion but struggled to keep up with her anxiety, impulsiveness, and emotional storms. Still, he believed compromise was part of love. But from the beginning, there was someone else embedded in Lena's life, like a permanent shadow. A childhood friend named Caleb Ward, a documentary editor with a talent for slipping into people's lives and occupying more space than he was invited to. To Lena, he was a creative anchor who understood her history and her inner chaos. To Evan, he was a boundary she refused to draw. Caleb appeared everywhere, showing up at Lena's apartment unannounced, sleeping on her couch for days, inserting himself into private conversations, questioning Evan's decisions, and commenting on their relationship as if he had a stake in it. Evan tried to keep his discomfort quiet. But every time he brought up personal space, Lena got defensive, insisting Caleb needed her and that Evan was misinterpreting everything. Evan apologized more often than he should have, convinced that love required flexibility. As months passed, small red flags accumulated. Caleb criticized Evan's architectural work for lacking emotional depth. He rummaged through the fridge, borrowed Lena's car, interrupted their dates, and took calls during dinners. Once, when Evan suggested they take a weekend trip alone, Caleb appeared at Lena's door with emotional baggage and stayed for 3 days. Lena brushed off Evan's frustration and said Caleb was going through something difficult. Evan swallowed his irritation, believing patience was the right path. When they moved in together, Evan hoped things would improve. Instead, Caleb grew more entrenched. Lena seemed oblivious to how much space he consumed. Evan became quieter, more withdrawn, trying to keep peace in a household that constantly felt invaded. He remembered how his parents communicated calmly, how respect flowed effortlessly between them, and wondered why he couldn't achieve the same harmony. Still, he loved Lena, loved her fire, loved the way she talked about dreams and colors, loved the rare, gentle moments when she fell asleep leaning on his shoulder. When he proposed, he did it in the soft glow of sunset near the ocean. Lena cried, said yes instantly, and hugged him as if the world might fall apart without him. But the wedding planning revealed fractures he could no longer ignore. Caleb attended every vendor meeting, offering opinions as if he were co-planning the event. Lena encouraged his creative feedback, even when he overshadowed Evan. Her parents, two self-proclaimed emotional counselors, frequently analyzed Evan's reserved nature, saying he needed to embrace fluid connection. Evan's parents, traditional and soft-spoken, were uncomfortable but said nothing, hoping their son knew what he was doing. Then came the night that changed everything. Lena invited both families for a pre-wedding dinner. Evan felt uneasy as soon as he arrived. Caleb opened the door wearing Lena's apron, announcing he was helping host. Inside, Lena buzzed around anxiously. Her parents debated psychological symbolism for the wedding vows, and Caleb hovered beside her like a second fiancé. Evan tried to keep the evening smooth. His parents stayed polite, though it was clear the loud, chaotic atmosphere overwhelmed them. Halfway through dessert, Evan's mother noticed Caleb's name at the head table on the seating chart. She gently asked whether he should sit with other friends rather than the immediate family section. She meant it kindly, trying to understand the logic, but the room fell silent. Lena stiffened. Her parents exchanged looks. Caleb smirked. Lena began defending Caleb, saying he was vital to her emotional world. Her father added that Evan's family didn't understand modern relational dynamics. Her mother nodded, calling Caleb an extension of Lena's inner life. Evan could feel his parents' discomfort rising, but he remained silent, listening carefully. Then Lena went a step further. She stood with her hands on her hips, her voice rising in frustration. She declared that Caleb would be part of every major moment of her future holidays, celebrations, milestones, everything. She said if Evan didn't like it, he should rethink marrying her. It was an ultimatum delivered with confidence, as if she believed Evan would bend like he always had. But in that moment, something inside him snapped into clarity. He recalled all the times he had stayed silent to keep the peace, all the boundaries he ignored for her comfort, all the ways he had shrunk to fit the emotional space she allowed him. He remembered his parents' quiet respect for each other, their balance, their harmony. And he saw, unmistakably, that the life Lena wanted wasn't compatible with who he was. He stood up slowly, placed his napkin on the table, and said in a calm, steady voice that he wouldn't marry her. Lena froze in disbelief. Caleb's confidence evaporated. Lena's parents fell silent. Evan turned to his parents and told them it was time to leave. He walked out of the house with a certainty that felt like oxygen after years of shallow breath. The next morning, he called the wedding planner and canceled everything. He absorbed the financial loss without hesitation. He packed Lena's belongings neatly and placed them by the door. He didn't feel anger, only relief. Lena tried reaching him repeatedly. She cried, screamed, apologized, blamed him, begged for another chance. But Evan knew her ultimatum wasn't a slip of emotion. It was the clearest expression of her priorities. Caleb messaged him long paragraphs, accusing him of immaturity. Evan blocked them all. Months passed, and Evan rebuilt his life, piece by piece. He traveled, worked on his architecture projects, and rediscovered parts of himself that had dimmed during the relationship. A community center he designed gained national media attention. He moved into a loft overlooking the harbor. He found peace in silence again. Then he met Maya Rourke, a trauma surgeon with steady eyes and a grounded presence. She wasn't flashy or chaotic. She didn't push emotional expectations onto him. She listened, cared, understood, and lived in the real world, not one fueled by endless creative crises. Their connection grew slowly but naturally, rooted in mutual respect. A year after the broken engagement, Evan had nearly forgotten the weight of his past. He walked into a charity gala with Maya, feeling light and content. As they approached the auction table, he reached for a glass of champagne from a passing tray and froze. The person holding the tray was Lena. She wore a volunteer apron, her expression tired and worn. When she saw Evan with Maya, calm, confident, truly happy, her face cracked with unmistakable regret. She turned away quickly, disappearing into the kitchen before he could say anything. Evan exhaled softly. He didn't feel triumph, or anger, or satisfaction, only closure. Maya looked at him with concern, and he smiled, realizing he was finally healed. He took her hand, feeling grounded, at peace, and sure of the life he had chosen. And in that moment, Evan understood something he had never grasped before. Sometimes, the most powerful revenge wasn't confrontation or vindication. It was simply walking away and becoming the person your past could never have allowed you to be.